and I believe Biscuit is going by Lana Del Rey, which is something I always Google whenever I look at Biscuit or I'm commentating them. But I'm still not familiar with any of their songs. I'm just not that.
Yeah.
I'm just not that good at paying attention to pop culture. But hey, you're watching a Splatoon tournament, so you idiots in chat probably aren't either. Regardless, this is not the same. The Riptide is a good example, but it's still not the same exact rosters. However, the team players from Moonlight did at one point sweep FTWin. Now, FTWin came back in 6-0'd them and said goodbye, but there's still a capability, potential, if you will, of Moonlight to beat a team of this caliber. We haven't seen them do it yet, but if they are the team that they want to become, this is yet another opportunity for them to get that big resume win that they've been looking for.
And one thing to note with Moonlight and FTWin, at least going back to Riptide, you mentioned, definitely not the same rosters to boot. It was basically, I think, a mashup of Last Resort and Moonlight for that particular tournament. But you're right. We did see that mashup able to sweep FTWin, so there is definitely a possibility that Moonlight can pull off a victory against FTWin. Of course, all that being considered, they are going to be loading into Blindwater Spring Zone, so it is definitely there. But of course, FTWin is not. This is also not the same roster that FTWin had at Riptide. I wouldn't be surprised if we could be seeing a lot of back and forth really between the two teams. That's what I'm at least hoping to see here in this loser semis matchup. But hey, this could be a defining win for Moonlight if they're able to do just that. Of course, FTWin wants to prevent that as much as possible.
But let's not disrespect FTWin. That is still a big if. FTWin has been playing really good since they quote unquote came back. Like we haven't seen Kyo and Biscuit and Zeras and Bursty playing a gazillion tournaments this year. No, the name FTWin is back, but it's not like these players have been on sabbatical training in the mountains by themselves, isolated from the world for 2 years. They've all been a part of the scene very actively. But since they've come back as a team with FTWin, they've been doing really good. Technically, the world champion runner-ups, if you want to play that card from last week as well. They beat Jackpot in the 20XX tournament. In fact, finished second place in the 20XX tournament. And have a good situation, even though they lost to Starburst. Keep in mind, Starburst swept Jackpot, swept Moonlight, and swept their round one opponent, who's named Bai. So the only team to take games away from Starburst is FTWin. They've taken 2 away from them. So FTWin is still a very strong team to win this entire tournament.
And I'll still end up using that card, I'll admit, for that Splat World Championships from the past week. They were, of course, the runner-ups that were losing to Jackpot 3-1 in Grand Finals there. And as you mentioned, this is still a very solid team, even with some of the results as of late. You still want to keep an eye out on FT as much as you can, even if you know the rosters have been somewhat consistent there with Kyo and Biscuit to boot. But I'm still gonna be wondering though if Moonlight still has that fire to say we want to take out FTWin for sure. I mean, of course they definitely want to, but in this case, so it is a very tough assignment. Also, to add in mind, winner of this one does play Jackpot, so obviously whoever wins this one will have to take on Jackpot in that loser's final matchup. And I'm sure both teams will be eager to look forward to that one, but of course having to take care of the set first.
By the way, a little side comment to Greg in chat, who's calling for the firing of Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. The Steelers have not had a losing season since the vast majority of people in this chat were born. I don't know if you're being serious about that. I promise you're not going to find a better head coach. So if that is truly how you feel, I feel sorry for great Steeler Nation. Regardless, back to non-ball sport action here. Lana Del Rey, taking a break from performing, I'm assuming that at concert somewhere, is going to be using the Rapid Blaster Pro, and there is nothing to... there is a crab but that pencil, the chargers work out really well here. I guess it doesn't really matter if two of your teammates instantly die, though, because then your charger has no point but to back up.
Yeah, we're losing two. That poor little pencil will have to just retreat back a bit, and especially with this being run water zones in particular, this is just a very lockout-centric map. As Moonlight right away loses three, it's already a delayed wipeout. I think FTWin may want to have other plans in play as Moonlight is just kind of stuck into that base. We get to see Zera there with that stamper trying to get so much value out of that Zipcaster that was just used on top of it. Moonlight needs to find a way to attack this zone as soon as they can. There's Nolan with that Kraken. That was a nice little find onto, of course, Lana Del Rey, who is here in this map all around, and Moonlight will get the zones back. A little bit dire initially with that double blade wipeout or that wipeout to boot. But Moonlight was at least able to get the zones capped on FTWin. Hello there, Joe, with that double. FTWin has the zones back here, Popgun.
Okay, so there was Xeris. You're going to push all the way up into our base and splat us. Nah, we're going to get revenge on you. Fall into a trap. They get Xeris, but then they're just stuck in a situation where Kyo literally dunks on them like LeBron, getting a triple and then opening up the door for FTWin to move forward yet again. The monkey paw curls. You killed Xeris, but at what cost?
Kill, I think maybe just put the entire Moonlight, half the Moonlight team on a poster with that little surprise. That was beautiful from FTWin. But now we're stuck into this neutral position to move. FTWin was able to get that one back, and that will be the trap from Omega going down on top of it. And that will we see the zone be neutralized for at least a few quick seconds. The rest of Moonlight is kind of bunched up to this left-hand side there. It's probably going to take a few fights to secure it for either team, really, at this point, as it's going to be 1-for-1 trade. FTWin still has firm control now. We'll be able to get paint over to this zone. It's still stuck in neutral. They haven't flipped it quite yet. With 2-for-2 trade, Moonlight does put FTWin in the penalty box with 60 points to go. FTWin does come back, but they have to get through these points first.
Nice job by Basil, both by staying alive from the various little shenanigans going on there, and also applying enough pressure on the zone to where Moonlight is still in this game. Moonlight has no business extending this game at all, but they're still technically in it. If they can find a way to get some picks right here, they do got some specials to work with, and Kraken is online. They do just take care of Xeris. Lana Del Rey working around this left side, and Kyo's forced to retreat a little bit. So Moonlight very scrappily staying in this one, and they finally get their first opportunity to try to get a push going. If this Kraken can make some plays, and it is forcing those two players into the zone in a possible pincer situation. Okay, Kyo not surviving it right there, but there's Xeris once again stuck along that left side, this time with nobody to come and help.
Yeah, and this will be FTWin. This is going to be the first time I think we're going to be seeing them play extended defense here. FTWin does get that zones back, and there's Xeris with a nice find onto Shao. There's that Zipcaster deep into that base there. Oh my goodness, just shut down right in front of them, and that wasn't really going to happen too much there, but he did get some with that stamper to boot. But Moonlight is able to still get this one back. Now they're trying to set everything back up in front until Lana Del Rey, of course, says hello with the Inkjet. Able to get one out of the picture there, and he's pretty much still two down, but Moonlight still has the zone. They're still taking down on some of these penalty points, at least for a short while, but this will likely be FTWin getting this zone back just nicely, and just like that here, Popgun.
Yeah, a minute, 10 seconds. There's still plenty of time to try to get back in this one if you're Moonlight, but if you're FTWin, step one, just lure that Kraken away. Make sure you survive it, which Biscuit does not. Biscuit getting served right there. And now, okay, what is going on here? Is Nolan just going to destroy everything with this Kraken? It went away, and then even though they were pincered, kills one player, forces the other one to jump out. All the penalty points are gone all of a sudden for Moonlight. They do have some specials built up, although FTWin does have a little bit of soda and an Inkjet ready to go, as well as the Zipcaster, so they can fire everything they need to on top of the zone. But if Moonlight can get some sort of miracle splat here, they can win the game, and instead it's Xeris that's going to take care of one player, zipping in, trying to harass Basil. Just make sure those shots do not go into the zone. In fact, they actually get a split, but they still haven't capped the zone just yet. It's tied right now, and the lead goes into Moonlight somehow. They're going to get the KO. Oh, wow. Moonlight, who once again had no business extending that set, made the most of that opportunity and gets the KO at the end.
I cannot believe that entire sequence there, and I think that, and you mentioned before, Nolan with that Kraken deep into FTWin's base, able to get a few out of there. And you mentioned Moonlight was just somehow extending this match all the way home, and that looked really dire from the very start here from Moonlight, getting that wipe out, then getting locked out really quickly. Somehow Moonlight able to get the zones neutralized with 6 points left, and they needed that neutral in order to stay alive. And FTWin just kind of got spread across the win. Nolan just went down. Then FTWin just could not win any more fights afterwards. There were a few moments where it was just 1 or 2 down, but Moonlight was able to keep that paint onto the zone nicely. And that was really beautiful Moonlight by the end of it, as you do get a few replays here of the initial push where FTWin was just able to lock out Moonlight to start.
And this is, again, a great opening by FTWin. This is what got them that huge lead. And I think this is the play right here where everybody just funneled down on trying to take care of Xeris, and then ultimately Kyo just jumped on top of them and got that triple with control of the zone, mind you. But I'm really curious how Moonlight was able to hold onto the zone at the end there, at the final kind of minutes right there, because they got us pick on a player. Xeris ultimately got the trade with Basil, but most importantly was keeping Basil from applying paint onto the zone. So, like, what happened back at the zone? Like, it seemed like FTWin was going to at least neutralize it, and I don't think they did. And this is the play that completely opened it up. Look, how? Just how?
Nolan was just left unchecked for a good time, and yeah, this is going to be the final side. It was somehow 1-for-1 trade. This was pretty much Zera just trying to get any value out of that Stamper, able to get 1 out of there, but they did lose the splash, which might have been some of their painting out of the picture there. Moonlight was still able to just paint over that zone the entire way through, so it was just kind of like a few picks that were being traded left and right from at least when I saw, and it just wasn't enough paint left from FTWin to just counter whatever Moonlight had. So I think both teams are now having to mentally get back into the swing of things, as we're here in undertow zones to boot.
I think it came down to Biscuit's blaster was not going to outpaint Shadows Jr. at that final kind of confrontation right there. Moonlight up 1-0 on this set as we're going to undertow. Machine coming out from Biscuit. By the way, can you still do the thing where you can like glitch a machine shot underneath the glass area and get a splat on someone, or did that get patched out?
I'm not sure, actually. It might have gotten patched out for all we know at that point. So I'm gonna be curious to see how that's all gonna work out there. But this is the small little quick 2 zones map here. Moonlight is at least able to get the zones captured for at least a few quick seconds. Both teams kind of just scrapping it out there deep into their base. Moonlight does go 2 down by the end of it. Kyo does go down to Shadow to boot, but no zones isn't quite capped yet. Both teams kind of just trying to find any sort of openings that they have at one time. So keep an eye on the specials there from Moonlight if they want to use the Kraken or the Zipcaster. No, there's Nolan, of course, on that Kraken, just kind of spacing out FTWin out of that picture to contest.
Spacing out and coming back to the soda so they can get right back into the action. This is going to be one of those maps where it's not the easiest to... It's easy to cap the zone, but it's hard to kind of hold on to it and get points. It's kind of like Piranha Pit back in Splatoon 2, where it's just points are coming at a premium. As you can see the zone, you just kind of sneeze on it and it completely stalls everything out.
Yeah.
Until somebody gets complete control of things. But right now, it's just kind of a bar fight in mid, as Omega surely is going to make short work of the player jumping in, using this hammer right now to chase out somebody along the way, keep them away from the zone, as FTWin does not get control of the lead. But honestly, at this point, who really cares? It's been almost 1 minute and 40 seconds, and we barely have any points scored on the board right now by either team.
And Moonlight going 2 down there just with that. And you mentioned it before, just a little bit of paint, just throw a few bombs in there, and all of a sudden the zone just gets flipped so fast. We're gonna probably be seeing a few moments there yet where you're gonna probably see lead flip and control just flip on both sides of the board, as Bale just runs too close to the Booyah bomb that was just being placed there. And but no one's able to get the return fire onto Lana Del Rey there. All things considered, though, FTWin does get the lead back. But you mentioned there too. Undertow with this 2-zone map, harkening back to the Piranha Pit days from Splatoon 2, these zones can get flipped very quickly. So really, for either team, they're probably looking for the time where they can get maybe 2 or 3 out of the picture and in such a position where they can't contest anymore, such as this possible point here where Moonlight goes 3 down, and that will be FTWin pushing up further. That's a delayed wipe.
And that opens up the door for FTWin to get a huge lead, if not a KO. But again, look how close they are to that Kraken. and Soda and Hammer coming online as well, whereas FTWin is not close to any of their specials right now. So everything's going to collapse onto the zone. Nolan's going to be taking care of the right side as one player gets taken care of. Omega's going to be following up to make sure they cap the zone. And there's not much you can do to stop that, honestly. Now, still, FTWin got a whole heck of a lot of points on top of it, so it's fine. But still, that's been Moonlight's MO so far in these first 2 games in the set. They're really, really hard to put away, and they take the most advantage of these small little windows of opportunity that you give them.
Yeah, and right now Moonlight is just trying to take as much advantage as they could, at least initially, until FTWin has both those points to boot. Basil's just right here with that Inkjet here, trying to see if they can find anything else. Nice little cooler toss there to make sure Basil definitely gets that Inkjet, and now Nolan's just trying to set up with the team once again. Lana Del Rey is out, and Moonlight has both zones. Nolan's has just been on a tear with this Kraken, able to get so much value out of it, trying to just face out FTWin, and FTWin is now kind of just being pushed back a bit here. Moonlight might have a chance to take out some of their points that were still remaining.
Is Nolan specifically targeting Biscuit with the Kraken? Like, literally, I think that's the 4th time Biscuit has died to Nolan's Kraken. I don't know if that's the game plan or it just so happens Biscuit's always in front of the Kraken. But they're oh, wow. Okay, so FTWin capped the zone. That's going to save them the lead right here because they got all these penalty points they got to chew through. But, yeah, I wonder if that's genuinely the game plan. Find Biscuit, kill Biscuit with the Kraken, because that's what we've consistently seen, at least from the spec cam perspective.
Yeah, it's entirely possible Nolan may not just be targeting Biscuit, but also just getting as much value with that Kraken. You can trust Nolan with their Kraken during key moments there. Omega may have just flown a little too close into kills range, and that's just a little unfortunate now. And Moonlight just really can't afford to lose both the zones. Anywho, they're still hanging on to it for as much as they can, and yeah, it's still neutralized there for a quick bit, though. It's still a lot of a scrappy fighting between. FTWin though takes out 3. They should be able to get both these zones, and not enough time left on the clock here. Popgun delayed wipe again for another cherry on top. FTWin is on the board now, 1-1 in this loser semifinals match.
When you can get behind the defense, which the Zipcaster allows you to do, and get the splat on the enemy anchor, that just completely shuts down everything. It's like taking the top off the defense, and then all of a sudden you can start pushing up, knowing that there's not going to be any support coming from the back lines right there. And that's ultimately how FT1 was able to close that game out and tie up the set at 1 apiece. But my goodness, how scrappy is Moonlight playing in this set? Keep in mind, something you can't ignore. FTWin has nothing to gain by winning this set. Like, if they beat Moonlight, nobody cares, right? Like nobody cares if they beat Moonlight because they're supposed to. On the flip side, if Moonlight wins this one, Twitter's going to go nuts, and rightfully so. So all the pressure's on FTWin to get it done, and Moonlight seems to be rising up to that challenge so far, at least in this set, knowing they have much more to gain in this one, and they're playing like it.
And honestly, a lot of their play has definitely been conducive to basically just having a lot to prove for themselves at this point, just trying to find ways to get FTWin out of the picture as much as they can. And we get to see a lot of the scrappy fight here. The game-winning wipeout effectively for FTWin to boot. But you mentioned before, Twitter's going to probably have a field day, as you mentioned, if FTWin loses this one to Moonlight, and Moonlight probably wants to prove everything wrong here. Hey, Moonlight has looked really solid throughout this set, even with that loss on Neutral Spillway. Still a lot of maps to go through in this particular set rather. But FT1, they definitely needed that win to at least stay on the board, as Minspeed Zones is back again on this third map.
Okay, so nobody's forcing these players to play on this map. Like, there's nobody that's making them do it. They wanted to pick this. I'm assuming this is Moonlight to put it in their map pool.
Gotta be.
Because as we saw against Heller, they like using the tent here in combination with the pencil, which they're pretty much going to use anyways, except for that last game where they used ballpoint. Still use NZAP so they could keep the Zoda. But Moonlight is wanting to go here, and their comp is going to be favored because of it. Is it going to be enough to get them the win and get back into control of the set 2-1? And did they not? Okay, there's the 10. I saw the squeezer first before I saw the 10. But yeah, they got it right there. Nolan's not using the Kraken, by the way. They still got double Zuka.
Yeah, so they're going back to this double Trizuka and Cooler. Well, at least they're dishing out the double Trizuka and Cooler comp here. But the big thing is that Tenderbrella with the ink back to boot. So FTWin is going to be their first is going to be the opponent here to deal with mid-speed zones. As pretty much no surprise, both teams kind of just combating around the zone overall. Looking to see if there's anything more. Kill goes down on top of it, but really, both teams are kind of just scrapping things out, just trying to find anything that they could. Maybe Zerk could find somebody with that Zipcaster for value. Not quite yet, but FTWin does have the zones at least in the meantime, and nobody has gone down so far at this point.
Only cool guys jump into explosions and walk away to tell the tale, as Zaris was able to, I guess, get lucky with the vacuum shot timing on that one. But if I'm Zaris, and I'm going to do what I did at the end of that last game. I'm just going to keep the Zipcaster and find ways to harass Basil to make sure that that pencil player doesn't have all that space to work with to attack the zone and pump out soda after soda for the tint and the squeezer and the splatter shot to work with right here. Regardless, the zone is in control of FTWin. That is Shadow using the vanilla tint, by the way, not the Zuka one. You don't really need triple Zuka, and they really know how to make the most value out of the tint, or the vacuum version of that. Probably put some beacons down as well. It's kind of awkward jumping back into this map. It's so lockout heavy. Having some beacons to work with would be nice, but right now just having some players alive would be nice, as Nolan can't even escape that without it being a trade.
Yeah, just beacon place is going to be very important here out of the Tenderbrella, because they'll give you your team some chances to find some of those angles. Just try to find some of those areas to jump to, just to be able to test and then find FTWin where you least expect them to. Speaking of FTWin going down, that's going to be 3 down. That's a total wipeout. That will be Moonlight getting the zones back. Now they should be able to set up further if they so choose, but they got to get paint down first and then try to make sure that FTWin has no entrances to work with. They're out of the penalty points here. Zaris is just looming large. Nolan firing with some of the Trizukas to no avail. There's that ink back to help protect this Trizuka shot from Omega. Splashes, by the way, down on FTWin's side, and maybe Moonlight will be able to get lead back here. Oh, and they definitely will now.
The only thing more frustrating than Inkzuka is Inkzuka combined with Vacuum. By the way, that's exactly what Zaris is trying to accomplish right there. There's Basil. Let me go get it. But the problem is they didn't get the splat on Basil. Basil stays alive. Everybody else goes down, but it doesn't prevent the lead from switching back into Moonlight's favor, as Zaris is once again starting to push up with Kyo. Ultimately, they realize, oh, wait a minute, that squeezer kind of outranges us. But again, look at they know who they need to go after if they want to shut this team down. Vacuum ready to go, however. FTWin likely going to get lead unless Omega can do some shenanigans with the Vacuum behind them. It gets a double with the Inkzuka. And, okay, saves control of the zone. Cleans up Biscuit on top of it. Kyo's being left alive. For how much longer, I'm not sure. But Moonlight's still keeping holding serve here.
Moonlight, I think Kill was actually starting just a bit, just trying to play this one patiently, and then boom, before you know it, just an ink-back Trizuka just waiting in the wings, getting a double out of that one, slows FTWin down by a bit. They pretty much lost control of that zone, which means even more penalty points to boot, and that was pretty nice overall to at least stop this FTWin push from happening, and Zerk gets that Zipcaster splat there onto Basil, and now we get to see the same attempt again, 2 down, by the way, on the side of FT. When their Shadow just using that ink back to protect the team and then throw it into the zone to get the cap for sure. So both teams kind of just trading zones left and right. Nobody really having true control of it so far. Maybe we'll see if FTWin can take advantage of this crab tank from Bert Send there, as FTWin does get the crab tank, the zones back, but it is going to be 2 down though on the side of FTWin. Moonlight's back in control with less than a minute to go.
In theory, FTWin really doesn't have to do that much to get the lead right here. They just have to hold the zone for barely a little bit. They don't really have any penalty points at all. The problem is when they get control of zone, they're not being able to find space to create these lockouts. Their attack on Basil aren't landing. Basil keeps staying alive. They don't really have an answer for this vacuum up until this point. And Shadow's not really hoping to get a splat right here, just trying to be a distraction. Hey, look at me, the annoying fly on the wall, and make sure you don't attack the zone, because we're getting some very critical points right here. Even if we can't get the KO, it gives us a much better cushion that we're going to have to use in these final closing seconds, because FTWin finally has the lockout they've been looking for, and they don't have that much to do to get lead.
No, they don't have that much now. They're set up for that lockout successfully here. Here's the ink back from Shao trying to protect the rest of the team.
Wow.
Zera is down, cannot get that ink back out of there. It is going to be 2 down, but 2 down though. FTWin is going to be at least push this one in overtime. I think the response mate are not going to be big for Moonlight here whatsoever. Basil just has to throw in as much ink as they can down the zone. The 10 umbrella is going to go down. Is it going to help matters? FTWin takes out 2. FTWin gets the lead back in OT. Pop gun. It is going to be FTWin up 2-1 with match point ahead of them.
They had to use their specials early just to survive the pressure by Xerath. Even though Xerath got taken care of because there's nothing they could do fighting a pencil in a vacuum, they still had to burn their specials earlier instead of having a way to use them into the zone right there. So FTWin applying the pressure, forcing things out a little bit early, opened up the door for them to get the win ultimately in the end right there. By the way, in no point in solo queue will you ever have somebody use a vacuum to guard you while you're firing your Ink Zuka shot. Like, this is something you can only see in competitive play, is actual combination of specials. And we saw right there, even though they lost, vacuum in conjunction with some of these other specials makes them even more broken than they already are. Case in point right here.
Pretty much the difference between solo queue invention and comp is just special coordination. If anybody pulls that out, and you get a rando that has ink back and trying to protect you the entire time. Either that's the smartest rando you're gonna see in solo queue, or they are just doing that coincidentally. But that was some beautiful coordination from Moonlight overall to make it work. Unfortunately, losing it at the end when FTWin was able to apply so much pressure and get themselves set up in a lockout scenario there where FTWin was able to bring that down to that game-winning point. There were points where it was neutralized, but I noted before, Moonlight had to spawn in during that OT when FTWin was already out of the penalty point, so they were at a huge disadvantage. Most they could do is just try to rush it and find a way to get the zones back as soon as they could. Just didn't happen, and FTWin in match point, and Moonlight needs to win the next 2. Has to start humpback pump track zones.
And keep in mind, if FTWin doesn't win this one, because this is the map Moonlight went on against Heller in the previous set, where we saw Basil just sit in bunker, Shadow kind of sit on the ledge, and they both just paint zone, while Hammer and Kraken shenanigans went out from Omega and Nolan to clean up the rest of the players right there. If this goes to a game 5, it will be a map that slightly favors what FTWin wants to pick, potentially. So this is obviously a must-win for Moonlight, but if you're FTWin, you can't win this one. You're still going to be feeling pretty good going into that game 5, regardless. The pressure, like Basil's not going to be able to just kind of set up shop in the bunker this time around. We saw that happen in the last game. They're clearly using Xerath to target and make sure that they can't just sit there and fire pencil over and over again on the zone. So they're going to have to be a little bit more movement going on, I guess, this time around. And by the way, that was Omega using the wiper with Hammer last time we saw him on this map. This time going to Carbon, I believe for the first time on stream today.
I think this would be the first time we will see Omega on that on that Carbon for sure, and I think the second time we're going to be seeing Moonlight. So that wouldn't surprise me with that he's going to be dishing that they're going to be dishing that one out rather. To know FTWin's going to start this one off, by the way, with capping that zone, pretty much effectively similar-ish comps there from FTWin. As Shao does go down, and it's just going to be a bit of a trade really on both sides. FTWin has a lot of command around this mid area there. Trizuka being fired from Omega, trying to get FTWin out of there as soon as you can. The trip strikes are being dished out. Oh my goodness.
I am not accepting that splat. That was just a, please God, let this hit somebody, and it just so happens to destroy Biscuit from halfway across the map. I'm sorry, that is not valid. We need to replay this one. I am not accepting that splat.
Let's start all the way up to the top. We cannot allow it. I definitely agree. We cannot allow that anymore. Miracle Trizuka shots are not real whatsoever. It does put FTWin out of the zones there, at least for a few quick moments there. And Moonlight's able to take it down to 79 points, remaining pretty much back to the same script for FTWin. So Moonlight's going to need to find any avenues that they can to push themselves up forward, though. I don't think they're going to try. I don't know, though, with the fact, if you're going to be able to get a few more shots with that Miracle Trizuka, if you're able to farm that one nicely, hey, maybe it is valid again, Pop Gun. Who knows? As Moonlight does get the zone here so far.
And when they have control of the zone, we see Shadow taking control of the backside, making sure there's paint on it. Nolan trying to get the splat. The RNG of their weapon not working out in their favor right there as they ultimately, technically don't even get the trade, but still, there's still control of zone by FTWin. Omega trying to work around this left side. This Crab is going to stay pretty safe along this side as well, but they are losing a couple players in the process. Oh my gosh. That one's justified, though.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
It is absolutely justified. It was a straight shot. I think that the kill was definitely lurking around the corner there. Probably just saw one person move up from FTWin. That happened to be Kyo, and then just fires that Trizuka shot. Boom, it lands. It was definitely not a miracle this go around. Moonlight's able to take 2 out there. They do have control of the zone. They should, and it will be in the movement onto the side here. Nolan probably waiting to farm this Kraken as soon as they can. Just going to retreat back to mid. As Moonlight will take that lead with halfway through this map. So far, can this Crab Tank be able to put pressure around the zone, make sure Moonlight has a chance to retreat here? It doesn't look like it, but I think just some special formation might be enough to get to flip zone and FTWin's favor. No, not anymore now. Bubbles there to protect the rest of the members there. No one's on the Kraken, and there goes Biscuit, and there it is.
And look who just so happens to be around the Kraken when it gets popped. It's Lana Del Rey getting eliminated, but already back into the action right now as Kyo gets pair of Omega, and that's going to be enough players going down. It's Shadow and Basil being the last 2 players left alive. Surprise, surprise, the zone guards of all zone guards right here. But look at the lead that they got. It's a pretty substantial lead. The problem is FTWin just got done of their penalty points, so they're putting permanent damage up on the scoreboard. You need a Kraken and Ink Strike ready to go, and it looks like they have all that stuff. They're not going to have to worry about Ink Strikes coming in from the top of the zone as Biscuit, I'm just so used to Biscuit dying to that.
No.
Instead, it was literally everyone but Biscuit that time around as Moonlight gets back control of zone, but damage still done by FTWin on the scoreboard.
So we're going to switch targets here. Let's get Kyo, let's get Xerath instead. We're no longer focusing on Biscuit, even though Biscuit was definitely near their base. And that was a much-needed Kraken too. It looked like FTWin was going to get a huge momentum shift there, but FTWin might be trying to kickstart things back into gear as they take out 3 from Moonlight's end. We're about a minute left on the clock now. FTWin has to get through some of these penalty points. They do have trip strikes available if they can take advantage of it here. Nolan and Shell's kind of just waiting a little bit, looking to just quickly retreat.
Those Ink Strikes did nothing. Maybe it opened up the door for Kyo to move in a little bit closer here. The problem is the Kraken's going to chase everybody out of the zone. They're going to use the Inkzuka to clean up everybody else, and then Shadow and Nolan, or Shadow and Basil, just hop in on top of the zone and paint it. So FTWin, they have to get splats before these specials come out. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how many times they flip the zone back into their favors these last 30 seconds. All Moonlight has to do is build up their specials, and they just auto-cap the zone. So, well, step 1 is they have to even get control of the zone the next 15 seconds. And even that seems a little bit in doubt as they have to burn their Ink Strikes right now.
Yeah, and like members are going down one by one on the side of FTWin. Moonlight has full assertion of that zone. FTWin just has to find a way to contest over this. Will they even have enough paint to force neutral? They don't. No. They don't at all. And we are going to a game 5 here, Pop Gun, in this loser semifinals matchup. Someone's got to win this set eventually, and it's gonna happen on whatever this 5th map is rolled for.
That is a true statement. Someone technically does have to win, and much to our streamer JPEG's delight, Clan Blitz is not in this tournament, so the game 5 can't be a tie. So we are going to be seeing an actual winner in this one coming up here. Can we get a replay of that? JPEG, I know you got it, and we're going to have chat. We might have to force a replay on this. I did get confirmation from the TOs. If that Inkzuka shot was just so stupid that we might be forced to replay. It looks like it's a little bit too late, but still, we might queue that one up. But that's just what the special does every now and then. Regardless, though, this special's pretty bonkers as well, as it did a good job of cleaning up a lot of those FTWin players. And again, constantly chasing them away from the zone.
Yep, yeah. A lot of the specials that were being dished out here is no one gets that double nut to everybody not name a Biscuit on that front there, and it's a lot of these special usage did a lot to get FTWin pretty much in a place where they can no longer contest. And you mentioned before they had specials that were pretty much readily available, but the key thing to know is they got to find members out of Moonlight first before you burn any of it, because Moonlight's going to be surrounding that zone with all their might in the last seconds. There, the trip strike pretty much as that was used earlier just did nothing overall for FTWin, and then just members going down one after the other. There was virtually no paint left in the tank, and that is pretty much how we got to that conclusion. Although, and I'm sure hopefully we'll find the replay where that miracle Trizuka shot landed will be considered legal. Maybe we'll have to restart game 4 at some point, but right now the result is 2-2. Someone's gonna win the set, and it will be on Mako Mark zones.
And this is a pretty neutral, I would assume, kind of a neutral map between both teams. Like, this is again, Moonlight just won on this one against Heller, and obviously it's not. So the two counter picks, quote unquote counter picks from Moonlight, are slightly not niche maps like Mincemeat and Humpback, where they can, I don't want to say cheese, but with what we've seen them counterpick with ship-shaped clan blitz in the past with how they do their Kraken stuff, those counterpicks worked out into their favor. This one seems like it's more neutral, and we're just going to have a bar fight for potentially 5 minutes with one team left standing.
I wouldn't be surprised if at all, as you mentioned, if we get that scrappy bar fight, if you will, between both of them, where they want to just find ways to catch everybody out by surprise, and Moonlight's just thrown by surprise right away. To go down right out of the gate, and now Moonlight's just trying to move themselves up. Xera's just trying to find the splat onto Shadow to no avail, and that will be Xera's being punished on top of it. And it looks like, again, it's just back to this scrappy fight, kind of just fights happening left and right there, and that Trizuka is actually accurate this go-around from Omega, as it should be the point definitely be flipped, as Moonlight will be able to get that one shortly, with Xera's going down on the side.
You know, if I'm going to be stuck in a bar fight, I would like to have a weapon like Omega or Xera's where I can just bash people over the head with something. So far, those two players have been pretty effective for their respective teams, but Moonlight has control of the zone. However, FTWin has control of the lead. And in the opening minute, a lot of back and forth between both teams. Neither one really able to establish complete control of things. However, FTWin's in a decent situation to try to get a lockout going right here if they can locate Omega, who's trying to make some plays near the zone.
Yeah, right now FT1's just kind of lurking large right now. Moonlight's kind of just pressured out just by a tiny bit. They're trying to use that bubble, really just to give them an entry point to move right up ahead, and then that Cartman on that side goes down. Shadow badly going down on top, and Nolan just trying to set everybody out with that Kraken. Kill jumps on top of that stag, not able to get him.
The true counter to the Kraken. Oh, that was so sad. I can't reach you with my little tiny Kraken arms. Keo survives, gets the splat on top of it, and oh, by the way, FTWin still hasn't lost control of the zone. They're staring down a KO possibility. They just got to weather the storm here. Here comes some bubbles on top of some Inkzuka. Finally, the zone slips back into Moonlight's favor. Of course, they're scrappy. They're not going to let it go down, but I think we finally found an answer to the Kraken. It's just that little wall right there.
That little wall in the stag. The Kraken can no longer reach him. Nolan was just trying to get Kyo out of there as soon as he can. Kyo was just happily jumping that entire way through and just survived with a little bit more on top of it. That was incredibly sad, but also unfortunately very silly and funny at the same time. But to boot, FTWin does have to weather through some of these penalty points there. Moonlight's going to need to find one entryway in, as Xera's does go down on the side there, so that will be the Stamper out of the picture to boot. There's a cooler being dished out on top of it, trying to get everybody to speed up there, but Moonlight will be able to get control back. I'm kind of reminded back to this first map there, where Moonlight, he almost has no business to stay alive right now, but Moonlight loses 3. FTWin still has control of the zone despite Moonlight's valiant attempts to get it back.
I was thinking the same exact thing, where FTWin was like, okay, here's your situation to put them away, and they didn't put them away, and they got burned because of it in the end. Moonlight, as long as there's still time on the clock, has an opportunity to make something happen, as Bursty, able to get an assist to one player and force the Crab out here to keep the players away from the zone. The problem is they do have the special.
Oh no!
The Kraken gets eliminated before it can get popped as well. Oh wow! The nice play. The specials can't even be used at all as FTWin finally puts Moonlight away. It wasn't easy, but they escape with their lives, and they're moving on to losers finals.
They did not have a repeat of map 1 where they lost it in overtime in that Brine Water Zones matchup. They needed to make sure Moonlight had no chance to attack anymore. And I did catch it for a split second there. The Kraken was just a few seconds too late too late there. It was pretty much popped out of the picture. And then, yeah, the 2 and then the delayed 3. Moonlight had no chance to contest. And FTWin survives the barn burner 5-game set against Moonlight. But they got another opponent waiting for them soon.
I was just looking at the top of the screen because we knew those specials were coming from Moonlight, because they've always come out from Moonlight when they need them the most in this set. And somehow somebody from FTWin was able to eliminate both Nolan and Shadow basically at the same time. So no Bubbler, no Kraken, and that's GG at that point. There's not much you can do to get back into the zone in that kind of situation. So when FTWin needed to clutch up and make a play, which we've seen them do for years, they did it yet again. And oh, bless your heart right here. Here's your Twitter moment. I can't reach you when you're up there. That's not fail.
Oh man, that is unfortunately one of the saddest moments there. The Kraken not able to reach Kyo, trying to just get him as soon as they can. Kyo with a few jumps for going back into the action. That was one of those fights where at the end, I hope we did get a replay of it, but I don't think we did, where the Kraken just need a little bit more time to boot up, but got caught by surprise by FTWin.